The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
All right, welcome to the 9 Years podcast, Thursday the 3rd of August. I am Nick Draper, joined by Stuart Deakins, and as we are in touching distance of the new season, this week's show is our season preview edition, in which we will look ahead to the new League One campaign and make a host of predictions that we will no doubt get completely wrong. Although Michael Appleton has now officially left Oxford, of his own accord, 2 years after we determined his sacking was imminent. So, yeah, we might be less Mystic Meg, more Slapstick Reg, but we have a laugh, don't we? Abdu Ayew returns this week, as does a full look ahead to our trip to Scunthorpe on Saturday, and then our Milk Cup tie with Brentford next Tuesday. But first, Stu, 2 friendlies in 2 days at the tail end of last week. We'll talk about team selection in more depth later, but I would assume that the side that lined up at Ebbsfleet looked more like the team that will kick off at Glanford Park this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously it was split. Normally these two games are split by location of players. So you normally tend to Kent boys play over on the Ebbsfleet and the local lads played in the Aldershot game. Yeah, the Ebbsfleet starting lineup, I reckon, I'm expecting 7 of those that started against Ebbsfleet will be in the starting lineup at Scunthorpe. So it's just really 4 from the other game at Aldershot that probably will fill up the starting 11 for Scunthorpe.
The front 3 seem pretty set in stone at this point, with Lyle Taylor nursing an injury. It's going to be Cody McDonald, Cressy Appiah and Andy Bartram, I believe, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's how it goes. There's reports that Lyle may be fit for the Scunthorpe game, but I would think at best they'd put him on a bench. Depends really what that calf tear, or not really tear, if it was tear he wouldn't play, would he? But it depends really how bad that calf injury was and whether he was just been rested. So I suppose they probably will try to keep their cards close to their chest with that one, and maybe potentially could bring it on and start him. But I think you're right. I think McDonald, Kwesi Appiah and Andy Bartram take those 3 places.
Neil Ardley, obviously expecting a lot of Kwesi Appiah. We had a brief glimpse of him back in 2014, but what will he offer us this season?
He's a clever player, and from pre-season, obviously when we had him back, 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, so it's difficult to remember too much of him, apart from one goal that he scored at Plymouth when he went clean through and slotted it past the keeper. But he's a clever player, plays on the shoulder of centre-half, so I expect him to get a few offsides this year, just because obviously he gambles on the fact he's going to get one clean through. He also brings us experience, so he's had experience of playing Championship football when he was at Reading before he got injured. He's been training with Premiership players since he's been at Palace, so that's always puts him in good stead. And obviously not forgetting that he was at the African Nations and scored in the quarterfinals back in 2015. So experience he brings with us, relatively a youngish sort of age for a striker.
Talking about experience, Barry Fuller, he ended up scoring from a set piece against Ebbsfleet, if I've got that correct. I sort of get muddled because I was at neither of them because I don't do pre-season. It was certainly Ebbsfleet, wasn't it? We won 2-1. Barry Fuller got a goal. From a set piece, from a George Frankham corner. Now, set piece is always a big topic of conversation. What are your impressions of our routines over the course of our, 5 games that we've had?
Yeah, pre-season is never a time to judge set pieces because it's just a mix and match. So for set pieces, it's more really hitting certain areas, free kick wise, I think, rather than actually looking at maybe routines where players are, going front stick, back stick, etc. I'm not too sure. I don't think there's been any footage, is there, from Ebbsfleet of the goals? But I would love to say Barry Fuller was a rasping shot from the edge of the box into the top corner. But in reality, it was a short corner, a corner to the near stick that he managed to get a right foot and slide it across the keeper. I think actually saying that the only footage that we did have is the stuff that I recorded on the 9 Year podcast Instagram where we had a penalty save. So that's the only footage that seems to have crept out recently.
Are you using the lack of footage to promote the Facebook live stream?
I would never do that, Nick.
Well, one footage, we're going to skip around a little bit here because you've mentioned it now. One piece of footage you had was the penalty at Stonebridge Road. Cody McDonald took it, right?
He did.
And it was saved.
Yes. And he won it as well.
He won the penalty, he then took the penalty. Well, that's interesting because that might actually answer my next question, which was going to be, with Cody McDonald taking penalties and now presumably off penalties because he's missed one, how many potential takers do we have, and are they going to do it on the grounds of if you want it, you can take it? Because we've got Callum Kennedy, Dean Parrott, when he's fit, Lyle Taylor will take penalties, Cody McDonald obviously fancies taking a pen. I'm guessing Appiah will.
See, I've always said this to you overnight. I believe a forward should take a penalty. They're paid to put the ball in the back of the net. And what better confidence can you get from a striker from putting the ball in the net? So I'm never one for really... we do have some set pieces. Obviously, takers are Callum Kennedy, Dean Parrott, and even George Frankham could take a penalty, can't he? God forbid. But I believe a forward should take a penalty. So, in my opinion, it should be. Obviously, I say forward. I wouldn't think. I can't remember seeing Andy Bartram taking a penalty, but I would personally put in Lyle, Cody, or Kwesi Appiah. They're the people I want to take the penalty, and I wouldn't say because Cody missed one that he should now be off them. So, but he did win. He did win the penalty very smartly at Ebbsfleet, and Cody's been excellent all pre-season.
You mentioned Andy Bartram there, who he did score the other goal at Ebbsfleet. Might not be a penalty taker, but obviously finding the net, and he does do fairly regularly, I suppose. I think he gets lost in the shuffle a bit when we discuss players. His place in the side is never really questioned. We don't seem to particularly mourn his absence when he's not there, though. What are you expecting from him this season? It's his third season with us. He's not getting any younger. He's not getting any faster.
He offers, since he's been pre-season, he always seems to do well in pre-season, though, doesn't he, Andy Bartram? Always has a good pre-season, always has a good start to the season. And then it seems to get, a couple of seasons ago, he got an injury when he was really bang on form, and he was such a big loss for us. But he seems to get sort of, as if his consistency is something that we need to get from him. And when you hear players talking about Andy Bartram, they always say you need an Andy Bartram in your team, purely because of the fact of, I think he's good in the dressing room, he's box of tricks, if he can square you up on the edge of the box, he can probably go past you or, commit a foul. So I think it's just consistency from him. The beauty of it is he gives us the wide left in a 4-3-3, so he can play for the three of the midfield, the three of the forwards, and if we go back to a 4-4-2, he can play the wide left of the four in midfield. So he gives us great options, but I think from Andy Bartram, there's no doubting his ability. I just think it's that consistency that we need to have from him this season.
And consistency, we've both mentioned him so far. George Frankham, Neil Ardley considered one of his most consistent players, clearly for what he does most of the time without the ball. I say most of the time, that's harsh, but you know what I mean. I think Neil concentrates more on what he does without the ball than what he does with it when he judges his team selections. It worries me when you mentioned about him potentially taking penalties, and if we were to get a penalty and George Frankham was to take it, I do wonder if there'd be people in our support that would hope he'd miss. Does that sound wrong? That sound very cynical of me?
Cynical. I don't think any of our fans would ever want to miss. I think they would question why he's taking it.
Fair, yeah, that's probably a better way of putting it.
George has done well. George has done nothing wrong pre-season. He's done nothing wrong. Played consistently well in the 4-3-3. You can see that's well. You can see what Neil Ardley's thinking about where he wants to play him, which is the right central player in the midfield. He wouldn't personally for me start, but he hasn't done nothing wrong in that position, and he's a better passer than what people think, and gives us that little bit of experience, because we've got to be honest, we've got a reasonably young team now in some players, and George Frankham helps them along in the dressing room, and he's an experienced pro now. He's third season now hitting in, if you take away his loan spell also early in his career.
Might even be his fourth now, isn't it? But
possibly.
He was with Akinfenwa in both seasons, wasn't he? That Akinfenwa was out, so this will be going into at least his fourth.
Yeah, so he's been around for a long time, so he can't be doing he can't be doing nothing wrong. We know he's one of Neil Ardley's not favourites, but I think he's one of Neil Ardley's trusted players that he can trust him to play in different positions and play to a standard that's good enough for him.
Yeah, trust is definitely a big word, I think. Lots of young players you mentioned there. You've seen a lot of them this pre-season. Give me two names. Who's really taken your fancy of all the younger players that have been given a chance to show themselves in July?
Yeah, it's quite an easy one, actually. Egli Kaja has stood out massively. I've always draved on about Egil going back for a couple of seasons, but I think last year was a difficult year. I think he probably was given a lot of direct, went down to Lewes on loan, done well, but that's Ryman 1 South, isn't it, I think? Did well there, but that's not really a level we need him to be playing at. But he's got experience. He's done really well. Come back. His hair's got very long. I have noticed that. You're
obsessed with hair. I can't think why.
It just seems to be flapping around when he's running all the time. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure
Sorry, what?
Flapping around.
Oh, his hair.
It must get in his eyes, I'm sure.
Wow.
But the other one that's given an interesting headache to Neil Ardley is Anthony Hartigan. I don't think he's done enough to get a starting position, but I think he's done. Can I be as bold to say that he may have given Alfie Egan a challenge or two for that potential substitute appearance on the bench and stuff this season? He's been brilliant, I must admit.
Egli Kaja, just to go back there, he did get his first start a couple of years ago in League Two, doesn't he? Or didn't he, I should say. I think it's a case of perhaps that promotion. Sometimes we've seen it, we've talked about it before the podcast many times, I know. But throughout our history as AFC Wimbledon, because of the speed of our promotions, younger players have been cast aside more quickly than perhaps they would do because they can't progress at the same rate as we were. Maybe that's just one where League One might have been just, at the time, for Edgy a little bit too early, but seems to be now that he's getting his chance. And Anthony Hartigan, still 17?
Yeah, still 17.
That's mad.
I always say, one of the things that I always say with a good player, when you tell players a good player, is when they go up a level and they still look in the same ease and control as they were at the 18. So what I mean, I'll give you an example, is that Anthony Hartigan has a great ability of just being able to dictate play. So very clever passes, made square passes, forward passes, but very much can control, pick up a ball. He's got into pre-season at the first team looking as effective in the first team as he did the under-18s. And when you can go up a level like that and not look out of place, then you know you've got a player on your hands.
And what about the other members of the squad? And again, 2 names of players that have really taken your eye, perhaps from the new signings.
New signings, definitely Trotter Liam Trotter. I do like him. I can see why people of other clubs have said that he can seem a bit lazy. He has a very, he's quite a big lad, so his stride pattern's quite long, so it probably looks like he's not taking as many strides, but actually he's covering as much ground, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But I do like the way he fits in left midfield. And George Long, yeah, good at both feet, distribution, has a really good vision at his feet on Saturday, saw things very early and set up attacks from his throws and from his feet. So that's good. But of course, you can't be a goalkeeper unless you can save a shot. And he made a match-winning save on Saturday from a free kick. I really like him.
You're listening to these fine gentlemen and their new song, One Horse Town. Available now on iTunes and Spotify.
So, our season preview. All our various predictions from everyone on the podcast team will be up on our website, 9yrspodcast.org. We expect by the end of Thursday, if not already by the time you're listening to this. But for today's show, for this week's podcast, we're going to look at every club in the division and what we should expect from them over the coming year. Now, I considered doing this in some kind of logical order, like alphabetically or from top to bottom or something like that. But I thought, that's kind of boring, and no, don't make any jokes about the podcast. So instead, we're going to do the first ever 9 Years podcast, League One, Royal Rumble. So we have 24 teams to mention, some a little bit more than others. Each team will get 1 minute, and we shall discuss them in whatever order they should come out of the curtain, in random order. Now, fans of WWE wrestling will know that these intervals, although we say will be every minute, are likely to change depending on what we feel like, but we will try to keep it as close to a minute as possible, but sometimes it'll be more, sometimes less. So, with all that said, let's find out who drew number 1. It is Blackburn Rovers. What a way to start. Stu, Blackburn are the league favourites. Seems to be across all the bookies and pundits. Is that fair? Or are they trading off their name value?
Blackburn's an interesting one. I think they are. I think, yeah, the team that comes down always, of course, will have the money. But Blackburn, not exactly. They've got the chicken owners who want to get rid of them. There's turmoil off the pitch. Does that go into a season of them going straight in and hit the ground running? I'm not so convinced. And even though they may be favourites naturally amongst some of the bookies, they're not my favourites.
They have done well, though. They've retained some key players. They've still got Danny Graham, who you'd expect to score goals at this level. Charlie Mulgrew is a quality player. And they've brought in a lot of experience. Peter Whittingham, right, he's 32 now, but Bradley Dack as well. So surely they'll be up there challenging.
Oh, yeah, I think they'll be up there challenging, but they're not, for me, automatic promotion for me. I've got them just outside of that in the playoffs.
So you're going for the playoffs. I guess the thing with them is Tony Mowbray as well, for all his experience, he's only managed in League One once before, I think, with Coventry. And he was sacked. So, and
that's my thing. I think you're right. I think they've obviously brought some players in, but I also think that they have a manager that really, I don't think, did a great Coventry. Got a bit of money to spend. Has he got a proven track record? I'm not convinced he has.
And that's good timing, Stu, because we're counting down to find out who will be the next team through the curtain. Gillingham. From one end of the table to another, I would imagine, and as much as I love that countdown, no, we won't be doing that for everyone, so do not worry. Gillingham. Everyone's tips to go down this season, including Neil Ardley's.
Is that what you said?
Yes, Stu, you were there when he said it.
Was he really? I wasn't paying much attention. You can tell.
Neil, you were as engaging as ever on the Meet the Manager evening.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at that. I had a nightmare season last season. Lost Kay McDonald to us. Lost Bradley Dack to Blackburn, isn't it? If I can remember correctly. And yeah, I just think they've lost a lot of Des Yojalaja, all those sort of players. I just don't see where they're going to change that form from last season. And then I've not got them to finish bottom, but not far off it.
Yeah, I think when you say the form of last season, there's a huge red flag against their name. They stayed up on the last day. They've only had 4 wins since January in the league. And you're right, with the amount of players they've lost, it seems pretty obvious, doesn't it, that they will be struggling and a big likelihood of them finishing in the bottom 4. Peterborough. This is an interesting one for me because last season I think they underperformed. This season, huge turnover of players. And I don't see them challenging either end of the table, to be honest.
No. So last season, finished 11th, not great in the Cups. They've done typically what they normally do in terms of Peterborough. They tend to buy, obviously, the good players from non-league. So, of course, they've got Ricky Miller in, haven't they? And just picked up the Aldershot lad. Aldershot, the model, Aldershot. Peterborough, I like the model that Peterborough have of picking up all the good National League players, put them on decent contracts. I mean, Ricky Miller's on quite a heavy contract, and then set them on for a fee. So the model's good. I just don't know whether they can get out of the league, if I'm being truthful, and I don't see them as being anywhere near the top half on my one.
Jack Marriott, though, good signing from Luton.
Yeah, but
Stephen Taylor at centre half.
Stephen Taylor, Newcastle lad. Yeah, that'd be interesting down at Peterborough if anyone can understand a word he says. Marriott, bit at Luton, used to underachieving.
Yeah, I'm just going to ignore that job at Luton, to be honest, and say, as we're running out of time, mid-table for Peterborough. A nondescript season, I would imagine. And the next team out, Bradford City. Now, Blackburn weren't in your top 2. Are Bradford?
Yes. Yeah, they are. I think they've invested well, and that's not just because they've taken probably our best player by far in Jake Reeves, but I think they've done well. Had a solid team last year. I like Stuart McCall. I think he's got a good team that he's built there. I think they will progress. Natural progression. Where Scunthorpe, we're going to obviously play on Saturday, will have been around about that. I can see Bradford doing a natural progression. I've actually got them as being champions this year.
Interesting. They have lost a few players, though. Do you think Billy Clark, Mark Marshall, who was key for them last year, Geordie Huula, who was their top scorer, he's gone back to Huddersfield and he's gone back out on loan somewhere else. So have they replaced that quality? I know Jake Reeves. We know about Jake Reeves. We know Paul Taylor, but is it like for like?
Well, don't forget they've got Charlie Wyke as well, who ended up when he come from Carlisle, did very well, didn't he? I just think it's a strong team, and yeah, they've lost a few players. Don't forget Mark Marshall is now injured as well. He went to Charlton, so they might have done themselves well there.
Milton Keynes.
Oh, that's a minute gone.
That was a quick minute. Blimey, and I'm the king of quick minutes.
It does. It flies when you're having fun.
Right, Northampton Town.
Cobblers.
No, it's true. They are the 6th team out.
Interesting one for Northampton. I just don't see what they've done this year. I sort of look at them and I think, obviously went up as champions when we got promoted. Didn't really. What did they do last season realistically? And they also lost their goalkeeper during the summer. And I did remember seeing their manager Justin Edwards saying, "Please be patient that the right goalkeeper will come along." So they obviously haven't got their squad completely done. Again, I don't see them finishing up much above. I've got them actually finishing in the bottom half for my league.
Yeah, I've put lower mid-table down. I don't think they won any of their last 8 at the end of last season. Could argue similar to ourselves, I guess. I just think their squad is much for muchness. Not a lot there. And not going to struggle, I don't think, to stay up in the league or anything like that. But just unspectacular season. Pretty boring season ahead for them.
I agree. I've got them down finishing 20th, just outside the relegation places.
Wigan Athletic.
Yeah, many people's favourites to go straight back up. And I can see why that, because they very much yo-yo, don't they? I've got them finishing in just behind Bradford. I think, I can't see past them, if I'm being truthful. I think they've got experience in this league. They've obviously got Will Grigg as well, who scores goals in this league. Yeah, I reckon they go up. They're second in my table.
See, I'm not so sure at all on this one. I'll tell you for why. Aside from Grigg and I guess Dean Whitehead's experience in midfield, Omar Bogle, perhaps, squad other than that doesn't really impress me. And Paul Cook, he's never really done it in League One. He's only ever really done it in League Two. The manager
change is interesting. I'll give you that. Paul Cook obviously leaving Pompey. I wouldn't believe Paul Cook would leave Pompey for a squad that wasn't capable of doing what he wants to do. But it'll be, the truth will be in the pudding when it kicks off the season. But yeah, I just think their experience, I think, will end up pushing them back up the league.
What about Rochdale?
Yeah, Rochdale is an interesting one in terms of.
You know what? I'm going to ban you from saying that word now. You can't say interesting.
Have I said that? Yeah. Interesting is basically me blagging it, basically trying to look at the tables and have a look and see who they've lost, because my research hasn't been as good. Well, I would say they bought Keith Keane in. So anyone who brings Keith Keane in is obviously going to have a problem, because I think he's a poor defender, as he proved against us last time, didn't he?
He's a centre midfielder by trade.
Yeah, that probably shows you where actually he ends up, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But Rochdale, they've had some good seasons. They're fighting. They're like us. They're punching above their weight, aren't they? But I've got them finishing around about mid-table.
A lot of the pundits seem to be thinking they're going to finish in the top half and maybe pushing not in the playoffs, but pushing towards them. I just don't see it, to be honest with you. Their squad looks weaker from what it was last season. And like you say, they're punching above their weight being in this league anyway, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and they lost Matty Lund to Burton. They lost Mendes Lang, who I thought was quality against us. Mm-hmm. So they've lost some players, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'd see them finishing around about mid-table. I've got them to finish 14th.
And again, I think probably their manager is probably key for them, because his experience with that club in this league is what might make sure they survive, to be honest with you. And I think that's what their aim should be. And I think they'll do it. New arrival in more ways than one. Oxford United with Pep Clotet, if that's how you pronounce it properly, taking up his first managerial post as a first-team manager. And to be honest, I'm impressed. I think he's recruited well. I think it all depends on how he adjusts as being a number one as opposed to a number two.
Well, nothing wrong with a number two sometimes, is there, really? But, I've got, what's he got? Jonathan Obika come in, centre forward from Swindon, James Henry. Yeah, okay, he's bought a Barcelona B player in, so that could be anything, really, couldn't it? But obviously, is he Spanish? I'm guessing he's Spanish, isn't he? Drastic through there. But, yeah, is this our first foreign manager in League One? Would that be right?
No, I'm not sure about that. Didn't that Bruno Ribeiro at Port Vale?
No, he didn't look how that finished.
Yeah, that was my test case, as it was, or past example, where I thought sometimes it can go right, sometimes it can go wrong. I think Clotet's a little bit more experienced in English football in this level. It's
just the players going out for me. You know, Jay Dunkley's gone out to Wigan, and Liam Sercombe's gone to Bristol Rovers, which I think is a really good buy for Bristol Rovers. So I just think they've lost a few players, but that's always going to happen because, of course, the new managers are going to come in. But I've got Oxford finishing in the top half. I've got Man finishing just outside the playoffs.
I've got them in the playoffs. I'm sticking my neck out. But again, it all depends, as I say, on how the manager settles into being in charge. We shall see. And on that note, Wimbledon are the next ones out. Do we know much about this team?
No. I don't know if they've improved much from last season, Nick, to be honest with you. I mean, all these players coming out.
Yeah, got a lot. Sorry, what?
All these players coming.
That would be great news for
not coming out, leaving.
I see.
Obviously, in all seriousness, a lot of the papers and people that have just got on the fact we've lost Jake Reeves and Don Napoleon and all that sort of stuff, and written us off, which is great because that's what we're used to, aren't we?
We are, indeed. Now, I must be honest, I think we're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think we will do anyway, but having gone through each team and looked at their squads, I'm not as confident about how well we'll do this season as I was previously, but I don't think we're in any danger of going down. Don't think that's on the cards whatsoever. Mid-table, perfectly within our reach.
Yeah, I've got us down finishing 11th. And that...
Well, I've gone 10 to 14th, actually,
Yeah, and that's me being optimistic. Of course, I'm going to go my yellow and blue class on, of course I am. But don't get me wrong, it's a tough league, and it really depends how we start, and hopefully hit the ground running this year.
Fleetwood Town are the next ones out, and I've gone for them to be in the playoffs again this year.
Yeah, see, this is interesting, because finishing fourth last year... Did they overachieve?
You say it's interesting.
I said that word again, haven't I? Of course. If you play bingo this time, I think the league generally is interesting. I think when you look at it, because there's a few, and I said interesting again because it's an interesting league. Because have Fleetwood overachieved? I personally think they probably have. So my gut feeling is they're not going to do half as well as they did last year. That's my feeling. I could be totally wrong. Either Russell's a decent manager. I'm still surprised he's still there. Looking at players they bought in, Carl Dempsey, the centre midfielder from Huddersfield. It's players they've lost is interesting. Conor McLaughlin, I've really liked. He scored the equaliser against us down at our place. David Ball. They have lost a few. I just don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to hit the heights they did last year. And I got them down, finishing lower than mid-table.
Interesting. I'm looking at just a couple of players. You mentioned Dempsey there. I would say McElhaney, who's come in as well, and Hurula, who I mentioned earlier, that was Bradford's top scorer last season. They've brought in on loan from Huddersfield too. It is a fairly young squad, but I still think Uwe Ross is a good manager. I can see him finishing top 6, but the next team from one end of the country really to the other, Plymouth. And this is one opinion has, again, I find this quite divided because there's a lot of people out there that are looking at Plymouth as potentially going straight through the division, but I just don't see it myself.
I don't at all. I think They're a big club in terms of... They're a big club in that part of the country, yes. But do I see them going all the way through? I don't. I really don't. I think if they can finish in mid-table, they've done well. I've got them finishing just below us in 12th position. And I think that would be a good season for Plymouth. Their fans down there, of course, will want them to do better. But they're a big club in... I think they're a big club in the area they are, if you think down in Devon and Cornwall. But I don't think in terms of this league, I think actually the spending power, have they got it compared to the others? They do struggle to recruit where they are. Anyone's been at Plymouth will realise that you do struggle to recruit the players. And I think 12th would be a good season for them.
They have got Greg Ward back. Lionel Ainsworth has joined as well. So, okay, I'd probably say players that should see them perfectly safe, maybe pushing for the top half, but probably no further than that.
But Wild went to Mill, didn't he? And then couldn't get in their team, went out on loan. Ainsworth was at Shrewsbury, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then he went up to the SPL.
Yeah, which is probably worse than League Two. I just think, you know what, if they finish mid-table, that would be good. And hopefully Plymouth fans, I think, will be realistic to know that would be a good season for them to start building.
And speaking of Shrewsbury Town just then, they are the next ones through the curtain, and I have got them going down.
Yeah, I've gone down, finishing 22nd. Last year they were down there all the time, weren't they? So it suggests it doesn't mean because they were down there that they will stay down there. Player-wise, nothing that goes to me. Wow, if I'm being truthful. Looking through the players, what we got here, John Lewis, he'll be good at Christmas, surely. Nothing that really, few loans in from Premiership clubs, nothing there.
Some Norwich and Man U youngsters in, I think.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just can't see them improving on last season. Things a big ask. That said, though, our Shrewsbury, they were in the conference, weren't they, around the turn of the millennium, around that time. And since then, they are just the definition for me of a club that will bounce up and down between League One and League Two. So it's no disaster if they go down. That just seems to be their place in the pyramid. And
I suppose we speak blasé, don't we, about, because we're a similar sized club to a Shrewsbury, a Fleetwood, that sort of club, a Rochdale. I think just we have stability, and I think sometimes that is the difference, having stability. Shrewsbury, on the back of last year, done well just to stay above the relegation. It really depends how they start the season, but along with the bookies, I think they're going to be relegated.
I like how when the buzzer goes and I see who's coming out next, that I can make a link to the previous club. This is great. Talk about stability. Charlton Athletic are perhaps not the model of stability, which is a crazy thing to say considering the years that they were used as the shining light of what stability can get you as a football club. But what do you think of them this coming season? I think they're going to improve on last year. I'm not a great fan of their manager, it must be said.
No, and that's where, unfortunately, I like Charlton as a club, but all the time they've got their manager they have, then I'm going to be a little bit like, I don't want them to do too well, which is a weird one, isn't it, being a London club. I think, again, they're very similar to Blackburn, although they're a bit more of a trouble than Blackburn are in terms of stability off the pitch. Recruiting-wise, of course, Billy Clark's come from Bradford, Fosu from Reading has come in, and Mark Marshall, who's then picked up an injury, which is unfortunate in that way. Yeah, I just don't see... I'm not too sure. I don't see... I think they improved from last year. They finished, 13th last year? But I still don't... I think all the time you've got that unrest off the pitch and your fans are not behind the manager. Not so much the manager. They should all hate the manager. Excuse my French. But I think they will always struggle to really push because I don't think their home form will be strong enough as it should be. I've got them finishing round about 9th position.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to say they're going to be on the fringe of the playoffs, perhaps just breaking in. But one team I definitely don't think will be Rotherham United, who are next out. I think this might be one of the more interesting teams to follow this season to see how they get on. They have been so poor in the Championship last season, and you develop that losing mentality almost, that when you come down, it's going to take a lot to turn that around. And I think they've done enough to stabilise in this league, but I think they're in for a bottom half of the table finish.
Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. They're not a team that comes down from the Championship going, wow, big club, decent bud, like the Wigans and the Blackburns, who you naturally expect to hold their own in the top half of it. I'm just looking again, players that they've bought in. Jamie Proctor they bought in from Bolton. We've got Darren, I'm not going to talk about him.
They've got Shemir J, who was with us, wasn't he, for a little bit?
Shemir J was decent enough. Would he walk into our team?
Probably not.
I don't think so. And David Ball from Fleetwood, I think, is a decent player as well. So
Paul Warne is their manager. And again, an inexperienced manager. There's a few that are trying their hand at League One for the first time. I didn't mention it earlier, but Plymouth, Derek Adams, of course, this will be his first time managing in League One. And you look at a club like Charlton, I know we've mentioned Cole Robinson, but he is well versed in this league. It took him long enough to get out of it, which he should have done a lot quicker given the budget he had. But anyway, you think does that give certain teams a bit of an advantage? Neil Ardley took, as he says himself, a bit of time to get used to this level last year.
Yeah, I think it does. And it's, knowing what players you can attract, what sort of football you play in this league, I think it does take a little while, and I think that's where we have the advantage. Take away our budget, we have the fact we've got a manager who's been in position for quite a long while now compared to the others.
Ooh, the next team out. I'm just going to say their name and let you give your thoughts on this one, because I think this is one of the more interesting teams as well to follow this year. It is our opponents on the opening day, Scunthorpe United.
Yeah. What word can I use that I haven't used before?
Exhilarating, fascinating.
I think Graham Alexander's done a good job there last year. Always around the outside, playoffs, going automatic promotion. 4th last year. Yeah, you have to wonder how many times does it get to a stage when do they keep progressing, or will they just drop off one season? We know that fight. Does it eventually sort of beat them up a little bit? Do they need a new manager? That sort of side of it. Looking at it, I think they finish in the top half still. I don't think they'll have a drastic enough season to come away from it. But I think they're going to be just the nearly men, if that's a word for them. I just think that's what they're going to be. Players that have come in, I'm looking here, Craig Davis from Wigan, can score goals, no problem at all with that. Haven't lost loads of players from what I can see there. Matt Crooks, decent one coming in from Rangers. Always rated him when he was at Accrington, but again, he's had a difficult time at Rangers, so has that knocked the stuffing out of it? Ivan Toney, we've seen before, ex-Mill lad or Northampton, I'm trying to think now. So we've seen him before. I just think it's going to be an also nearly run season for them. I see them finishing the playoffs again, if I'm being truthful.
Yeah, that's where I've got them in the playoffs again, because I think the squad is still strong. They've still got Josh Morris, they've still got Paddy Madden, Dan Dean's still there. They've signed Redmond from Man United, haven't they, on loan for the season, so yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think they've quite got enough to get them into that automatic promotion. I think their fall away last year suggests that, but there's still enough about them to be in and around the promotion mix. What about, as the buzzer goes, as the buzzer sounds, Southend United, who just missed out on the playoffs last season? These are my dark horses. I might make a bold prediction that I think they'll definitely actually going to make the playoffs this year. I think they could push for automatic.
No, it's interesting you said that. I've got them finishing 3rd this year. I thought they were one of the better teams that come down to our place. I think they got a real strong strike force in Cox and stuff like that. This year they brought in Michael Knightley from Burnley, Michael Turner, decent centre half. I think do you know what? I think they've done really well in the transfer market, keeping the squad together. Really, what they've done. So, yeah, I think again, the stability of a manager can never be underestimated in this league. And Phil Brown, for all his suntan or fake tan, I think he's done a good job, and I think he will push them to get promotion. I fancy him into going to 3rd place.
It's exactly pretty much what I had written down here. I think the strike force with Simon Cox and John Fortune, they've got good players in that team. They've got Wordsworth, they've got Michael Timlin. And yeah, then the additions are good, but yeah, I think as well, Phil Brown, as you say, that stability and that knowing the league, knowing how to play the league. And when we didn't turn up at theirs, did we, last season, when we got turned over 3-0?
It's a hard place to go to. I think it's a difficult place to go to.
They blew us away, I think, in the first 20 minutes, really, just took the game straight to us. And yeah, I think they are my ones to watch this year. The next team out, as a buzzer goes, which is interesting, again, that word, is a team that a lot of people are predicting to do very, very well this season, but I just don't see it, and that's Portsmouth. Again, I think a lot of this has to do with their manager. I think people have seen they've made a good appointment. That is a great appointment. But I just don't see their squad being anywhere near good enough to have this promotion run that a lot of the pundits are suggesting. Apart from, they've signed Brett Pittman, haven't they? That's a good signing. Other than that, doesn't impress me at all, really.
See, Kerry Jack is an interesting one, isn't it? Because
it really is.
Damn, I've used that word again. Anyone listens to this, I think the words is because we're literally just trying to go through as much information as possible. But Millwall, we had a really good time. Millwall didn't need anyone to Wolves, but then after that, Rotherham, has it sort of gone a bit stale for him a little bit? Pompey, big expectation. Pompey now got a bit of money from them, gone from being a fan zone club now to releasing that fan zone side of it. Good player they brought in, Brett Pittman. Really like Brett Pittman. Luke McGee, heard quite a little bit about as goalkeeper as well. So, yeah, do you know what? I just think, again, that expectation. Pompey, their fans now will be thinking, we've got investment, we've got a manager who's been at a higher level, we should be going for they're always going to be hit by their expectation, and yeah, I'm not feeling it either. I don't think they're going to have a bad season, but I don't think they're going to be as they're going to blow the league away as people think, and I've got them finishing just around the playoffs.
Now we're getting down to the final quarter of teams. I think we've got about 6 teams to go, so this is where it really gets exciting. Okay, and the Royal Rumble You might have a little bit of a period at the end. There's only a few left in the ring and they're scrapping it out to see who will win. So let's see who we've got left. Oldham Athletic are the next ones out. And I'm going to say one word, relegation.
Yeah, I can't see. When you look at the strength in this division, I just can't see what they're going to do. A lot of players come in, admittedly, sort of last season. This season, not as much. So looking around, what we've got, Craig Davis come in from Scunthorpe. What we're looking at, some of the players.
That's the only one I picked out, to be honest with you. I looked at the others and I just didn't. Craig Davis was the only one. The only other thing I'd say was their manager, who just seems to perform miracles with this club. That might be their only saving grace, but the squad just looks thin as anything.
It does. I can only go on what I saw last season. They weren't, I wasn't overly impressed with Oldham. They did also have Connor Ripley, didn't they, as well, who had, I don't know how many clean sheets he had and stuff like that. But yeah, I just think they done well with what they got for the goalkeeper last year, the clean sheets and stuff like that. I just can't see it. And sorry, Oldham fans, but I see them as being the strongest team in the league next year, with holding everybody else up.
Will you be apologising to this team, Blackpool? I say apologising to their fans, but their fans don't really seem to care at the moment. They are still persisting with their boycott. And this is a team that are fancied by many to go straight back down. I don't think they'll go straight back down, but I think they'll struggle. I can see them being in the bottom six. I think they might just have enough to stay up. They've still got Cullen up top, and as you know, of course, I'm going to rate him highly. But otherwise, squad doesn't stand out particularly. I think
they've lost also their captain, Tom Aldred, gone to Bury. I look at their recruits, really, if I'm being truthful, and I don't see anything that worries me. I think, obviously, again, with the stuff, how they got promoted last season with all that turmoil off the pitch, you just have to say, wow, what a job the manager's done there and stuff. But I do see him going back down just because I just think teams with unrest in this league, the strength is so good, you need that togetherness. I just think their home form won't be as good because of just generally boycotts and stuff like that. That's my feeling. I think they go down. Do
you think that brought their squad together now? I know that's the buzzer. I'm going to ignore the buzzer for now. Do you think that brought their squad together a little bit last season?
Can do. But I don't think League Two, and all due respect, I think League One's a really tough league with really strong teams in there, and I just think that only goes so far. I love Blackpool to stay up because I think it's a nice place in a part of the world to go to, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? The
team that the buzzer went for a little while ago was Bristol Rovers. That's quite lucky because I've got nothing to say about Bristol Rovers. They bore me, to be honest with you, which is harsh, but they do. They'll be mid-table. They'll do very little this season. Liam Serkin is a good signing. Tom Nichols is a good signing. Done.
See, I think Bristol Rovers will do well again. I really do. I just think Bristol Rovers is such a difficult place to go to. Yeah, get a Liam Serkin. Don't forget that you got Tom Nichols, who I think is a decent player. Peterborough can score goals. Adam Smith, which is where Northampton's goalkeeper went to them. I think they picked up some decent players. I really do. Not much coming out at the other end. But I've got them finishing just inside the playoffs. I think they have a good season.
Doncaster Rovers, lower mid-table for me. Good manager, average squad.
Yeah, they done well in League Two, didn't they? Come down with obviously Darren Ferguson. Yeah, I don't see them coming up and momentum-wise doing much. I'm being truthful. I got them finishing around about mid-table, but then Doncaster are very much, I think, for a team, they will sort of stabilise League One. I think that's probably where their level is, without being disrespectful. I think that's where Doncaster will be. So mid-table for them is probably a decent season, very much like us.
And there's the buzzer. We're down to the final two now. The final two entrants. It's getting very, very exciting now to see who will win the League One Royal Rumble. This is all nonsense, really, isn't it? But anyway, Bury with Lee Clark. I have 3 words written down for Bury. Money, money, money. They've got like 17 new players this season.
Yeah, and you have to say, how long does it last as well? I find it unreal what they've bought in. I really do. Do you know what I mean?
There's quality in there.
There is, and they're paying decent money as well, Nick, for it. It must be.
Yeah, but where are they getting that from?
I think you and I are both sitting here going, this is going to end up in tears, isn't it?
I think that's what everyone's expecting. Everyone's expecting this to go all wrong, but I just think there's so much ability in that team. They might be a side they might be similar to the Cambridge team of a couple of years ago. Do you know when we actually won promotion from League Two, Cambridge were heavily fancied and they invested a lot of money and it just didn't happen. But they have so many individual talents in there. They had enough about them to end up in the top half, and I can see Bury doing that, but no better than that.
Well, they should do, shouldn't they?
They should do with that squad, with Jermaine Beckford and Nicky Jose and all the others.
And don't forget, Tom Aldred went from Blackpool. I think he's a very good centre-half. Chris Maguire went there from Oxford. Yeah, they've done really well. Jared Shea from Chesterfield, who I think needs to move away from Chesterfield. See, I've got to finish in bottom half of the table, but that's because I think it'll go pear-shaped around Christmas. I'm just waiting for it to happen.
And you can hear that, Stu. They're starting to count down now to the final entry to the Royal Rumble. And if you've been paying attention, you'll know who it is before I have to announce it. But here we go. It's actually the only Polish team in the division, Warsaw, who I think their time has come to an end and they will be going down.
Yeah, I've got mid-table. I don't think they've got... It all depends really what they keep hold of, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? We know they're a little messy in that. We'll give them so many goals and stuff like that. They lost their goal kit as well, left in the summer as well. So that could be a big loss for him. He's gone to Cardiff, but they brought in Mark Gillespie from Carlisle. So decent goalkeeper in League Two. But yeah, I'm with you a little bit. I think mid-table.
That is going to bring to the end our Royal Rumble. So the only question that remains is who is going to be the winner of our first ever 9 News Podcast League One Royal Rumble. So Stu, your prediction for champions, you're going to just put this on record now. I know you've already said it, but just for the finality of it.
Yeah, mine are Bradford.
Bradford City. And second place?
Wigan Athletic.
Do you know I've gone for Blackburn? I still think their squad's going to be too strong. And Southend to be runners-up. I'm going to be bold and put that as my prediction. What about your bottom six? Have we said bottom six, have we?
Yeah, you have gone bottom six. Yeah, only four get relegated, but I suppose we're obviously looking at potential people who have a bit of a tough season. So what have we got? So four to go down, I've got our Blackpool, Shrewsbury Town, Gillingham and Oldham. And two that are just going to be there or thereabouts, fighting it out will be Rotherham and Northampton.
Troublers. I agree with you. I think Oldham, Shrewsbury, Gillingham will all go down. Walsall I'm going to stick with. I think they're going to go down. Blackpool and Doncaster are mine that I think will also struggle towards the bottom end of that division. You've already said you've got us down finishing, what, 11th?
Yeah, I've got to finish 11th. I think that would be a great season for us.
I'm going to say 14th. I think 14th place for us, which again, absolutely fine season for us. I think we'll give, if you're offered that as a guarantee now, you'd take it, I think, without a doubt.
Oh, without a doubt.
Top scorers in the league, in the division. Who have you got? What names have you got written down? I'm sure we've mentioned pretty much all of these names already, but
yeah. So I've gone for. I think Wigan would do well and score quite a few goals. So I've got Will Grigg, and I've got a feeling that the player we had on loan, Charlie White, will score bucket loads of goals for Bradford. And yeah, I've got. I think he'll be in there as well.
Danny Graham,
yeah,
Blackburn. In and around.
Do well. I might be totally wrong, and we will find out at the end of the season. I just don't think Blackburn are going to do it. I think there's too much going on at Blackburn, and I don't think Mowbray is a great manager to motivate a team to basically come back out. I just think there's just too much going on around there, and I think it'll be a big club, and in this league, I think people would enjoy going there, and I think they're causing problems.
What about the first manager to be sacked this season?
Yeah, I think there's one that's dead cert. I think it'll be Adrian Pennock at Gillingham. I see them doing exactly this. I see them starting the season as they finish the last one. I think he did well to keep his job at the end of last season. I think he'll be gone within, I reckon, 2 months.
I've gone for Grant McCann at Peterborough because I think they are still expecting to be aiming for promotion, and we know what their chairman is like, and I just don't see it happening, and I can see him getting a little bit trigger happy. If not him, I wonder if Paul Warren at Rotherham, how long he's got, depending on how well they start the season. It
all depends on what the expectation is, doesn't it? You know, Rotherham, obviously a lovely new ground, went up to the Championship. It depends really. Does their chairman see with that? And it's a lovely ground now. I've not yet been there, but I've obviously seen all the pictures and I'm looking forward to going there this year. But would he go, with the ground we've got and that sort of been a Championship before, would he expect to go straight back up? I don't know. If he's a realist, then he probably survives. But yeah, I can see where you're coming with that.
Cool. And then finally, I've already said who I think will finish 14th, because I think we will be the team that finishes 14th. What do you think, Stu?
I've gone for Rochdale as my team that will finish 14th.
Well, that brings us to an end. Remember, all our predictions, like I say, they will be on our website, 9yrspodcast.org. If they're not already on Thursday morning, they will be certainly by Thursday afternoon. And if you really want to, you can scour through our media tweets on Twitter at 9yrspodcast and find all our individual team previews. Although I say previews, they're more a review of their 2016-17 season, but you can check them out anyway. Also, the WAP Fanzine's annual Premonitions contest will be open right up until Saturday afternoon. This is your chance to test your skills of prognostication against other Dons fans, and the link to this survey is available on our website, 9yrspodcast.org. It's also on the WAP guestbook at wapgb.co.uk. So please check that out now. Prognostication. I was thinking about this word, Stu. I love that word, prognostication. Do you know how many great words start with PRO? I was thinking about this. You've got procrastination, which is possibly my favourite thing to do. Progress wrestling, which is one of my favourite things to watch. Profiteroles, something I like to eat. There's so many. Proletariat. Prosthetic.
Interesting.
That's the best word to finish it on, I think. Right. Time for this. An overwhelming success last week as investigations into a pile or lower continue. So this is the return of Abdu Are You. 3 clues and then an anagram at the end if you need it, Stu.
Okay.
This week, Jimmy Abdu has met up with another former player of ours. And he has been told that apparently Lily Allen is a big fan of this player.
Oh. So, Lily Allen... Oh, no. No. I haven't got a clue on that one. That's a bit of a random one.
That's the more cryptic one to begin with.
Lovely.
Let's see if you get it on the second one. This player apparently would not have got along with Dom Polion. As you know, Dom Polion likes to travel up and down the country to a different stadium each and every week. But this player, in his entire playing career, he never ventured further north than the Midlands. I'm not even entirely sure he got all the way up to the Midlands, in fact.
Wow, that could be anybody.
Well, it could be anybody.
Well, there's loads of players that did. I'm trying to think. So, never ventured anywhere. So, we've got... Could be any... Obviously, I'm thinking back Premiership days. It could be anything like Ben Thatcher, who didn't travel up anything outside of Millwall because he didn't. I don't know. Ben Thatcher. I can't think of anything.
Ben Thatcher. That's not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. Okay, well, you got one more clue.
Okay.
Straight away, Stuart, it's not Ben Thatcher. The small midfielder famously scored a winning goal against everybody's second club Luton in a cup game.
In a cup game. When do we play Luton in a cup?
Oh dear. There's lots of fans of ours right now that have gone when and are just screaming at you right now.
Dennis Wise? I'm thinking, didn't he score in the semi-final against Luton, didn't he, in the semi-final FA Cup?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, but I can tell by your tone that that's not right.
I don't know. I'm not giving anything away. I just want to make it put on record. What is your answer, Stu?
Yeah, I'm going to put Dennis Wise.
Dennis Wise? It's not Dennis Wise.
Boo.
However, you are right. He did score the winning goal against Luton in the 1988 FA Cup semi-final. Somebody else scored a winning goal against Luton in a cup game. And their name is an anagram of ferret ape.
Peter Fear?
Yay!
I nearly said that on the second clue.
Really?
But yeah, no, on the third clue. The midfielder, not ventures, I think, and he didn't go far. I think he went as far as Sutton United. Did he go to Sutton United, did he?
He's been up to, like, Oxford and Kettering were as far as he went. And he did go to Sutton as well.
Yeah.
He went to Havant, but that's right in the south.
Well, we was a Sutton lad. He was born in Sutton, so not really difficult to go to Sutton when you're born there. Peter Fear, I'm quite impressed with that.
He's done well.
I've done an anagram as well, which I never do, but it's quite an easy anagram. I'm sure people will realise.
Yeah, I was looking through all the choices for the anagrams, and that would seem to be the most tricky one. But
so where was the Lily Allen thing then?
Lily Allen had a very famous song, Stu, called
Fear.
There we go.
You know what I did think early on? I thought I heard not Lily. I thought I heard Lily Savage or something. I thought Savage for a minute when I heard Lily. I thought like Lily Savage, but no, I don't. Yeah. Moving on.
Okay.
My brain.
You keep thinking of Lily Savage.
The way I think, my brain. The way I think is a worry. I do feel that.
Okay, Scunthorpe. Earlier we said that we thought they could be in and around the playoffs, if not automatic promotion, possibly. Although, Stu, you think they're actually going to struggle a little bit more. On Facebook Live, you said, though, on Saturday you'd take a draw, if offered, from our trip this weekend. I still think it's potentially a winnable game, just because of that hangover from the playoff defeat last season that we might have had, and we've a lot of changes, a real good feeling around the squad at the moment. So I don't think it's beyond us to go and win there like we did last season. But if you were to give a score prediction now, what would you go for?
If I was going to go for a score prediction, I'd probably go for 1-1 draw. I think the start of the season when you're going away from home, I think if you can just pick up a point early on, get your first point on the board, get your first goal scored, then we go into some decent games, don't we, with Shrewsbury at home. So I think we can just get a point. Don't get me wrong, if we get a win, it'd be great. And it wouldn't surprise me either to see us win there. But I'll take the draw all day long.
Yeah, I think I'll probably agree with you and go for a 1-1 draw. In terms of team selection, because this is what everyone wants to talk about, I was thinking about this. You mentioned earlier you thought most of I think you said 7 of the 11 that started against Ebbsfleet will be in the starting 11 on Saturday. I think the key positions for me are who joins Abdu and Trotter in midfield, who will the third man be, which is another great wrestling reference, but also perhaps the centre-half pairing is where people aren't sure. Is George Frankham likely to be in that starting lineup, considering this is an away game and he might be more defensively minded than Dean Parrott?
And that's your answer, isn't it? It depends really what Neil Ardley goes for. If he goes there to take a game to Scunthorpe, then you play Dean Parrott. If you want to go there and just not protect what you've got, but be solid, then you go for George Frankham. And so, yeah, that one I think could go either way. Could possibly start with George Frankham with Trotter and Abdu, and then bring Parrott on once we get a bit of a holding in the game. But I think it could be either or, and I don't think there's much variation from the midfield. I think it's basically Dean Parrott or George Frankham fighting for that one remaining place, I believe.
And then the back four, is it a case, I think we've already mentioned the front three. Lars' injury means it's pretty much a given it's going to be Barcham, McDonald and Appiah. Back four, similarly, Darius is still injured, isn't he? So are we looking at Deji Oshalaja and Will Nightingale, or is it Deji and Paul Robinson?
Again, I think it's Will Nightingale and Paul Robinson fighting out for that place. Again, it depends whether Neil Ardley goes first game of the season. We're going to go for a bit of experience. Robbo then wins it over. If I was going to say on what I've seen pre-season, then I would go Will Nightingale quite easily at this stage.
And the fullbacks?
Fullbacks we can pick themselves. Barry Footer returns, and he's looked good this pre-season. He's really, you can sort of see that layoff he had has really put the bit between his teeth, and he really has looked good pre-season. And I think Callum Kennedy fits in quite easily because Jonathan Meads is out injured at the moment.
Darius Charles, Jonathan Meads and Lars Hayler all injured, and then you look at the team that could be starting and you think, yeah, I think we've strengthened the squad. I think we've done all right. I think our recruitment's been bang on. So I am confident going into it, but as you say, yeah, a draw all day long I'll be happy with, and yeah, I'll probably go for that as my prediction. The other thing I need to tidy up, I'm giving the club a bit of a chance here. I'm sure that Trevor Williams and Robin Bedford are listening.
Yes.
And their decision has probably already been made because of the timing of it and the distance they have to travel. I'm not sure if it's going to be one of those where they travel up on the Friday night or not with the kit, I'm not sure. But you know that Wimbledon are on my list of change kit shame. Well, I'm going to give them the opportunity to get off the list because there is no need to change colours on Saturday. Our blue does not clash with Scunthorpe's claret and blue. They've reverted to a claret shirt this season. There's no reason for us to be in yellow or black at all, aside from I know we've got a cup game on Tuesday, which we'll come on to. So I'm just going to give the club the opportunity here to get off my list of change kit shame if we play in blue on Saturday. Out of 10, Stu, what do you think our chances are?
See, it's interesting you say that because I think the away kit's all day long because I think it will clash. Am I wrong in that? I'm just looking at a picture because it's quite, the colours are dark, aren't they? I'm just looking at a picture now of the Scunthorpe kit and that blue clashes, Nick, I'm thinking.
No, not with their claret shirt. We never used to change kits when we used to go to West Ham or Aston Villa or anything.
But that was back in the day when actually second, third kits weren't really, they were just used just in case of extreme cases, weren't they? Do you know what I mean? Nowadays you just use your away kit because you're playing away from home, which is half our argument. I don't know. I think we use. Is it a yellow kit, the second kit this year?
Yeah, we played in yellow at Scunthorpe last season, but then they had a sky blue kit, so it's a little bit more acceptable.
And it's also going to be a bit, it's going to be a bit dull. It's grim up north, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be cloudy, and yeah, I think yellow will make us see us each other.
Any other games from League Two? League Two, dear me. Any other games from League One? You'd think I'd be out of that habit right now, wouldn't you? Any other games from League One? Let's just pick one each. One game from the fixtures in League One on Saturday that you will also be keeping an eye out for.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see Southend versus Blackburn.
Yes.
On Saturday. I think that's if what we've said, about them both being up there fighting for promotion, I think that is a cracking start to the season.
Well, a fantastic opening day game. That will be great atmosphere, I imagine, down at Roots Hall as well. I'm just going to keep an eye on Bury versus Walsall just to see how Bury get on with all their new signings, and as I've tipped earlier, Walsall, who I think are in trouble of going down this year, so I'll be fascinated to see how that one plays out. We'll quickly touch on the Milk Cup game with Brentford on Tuesday night. Now, our record in that competition is very, 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 very poor, but we are at home at last. First time we've been at home in this competition as AFC Wimbledon. First time since, the year 2000, I think, that we've had a home game in this competition. I guess we can't really preview too much because it all depends on how seriously Brentford take the game. Not how much seriously they take it, but what sort of team they put out for it. Because I think they will be fancying their chances of a playoff place in the Championship this season. And I think if they put out a strong starting 11 against us on our brand spanking new pitch, which is like a carpet, like you've mentioned, I fear for us, actually.
Yeah, I think it's a great game. I think, London Derby, a very close London Derby, if we're truthful, even if they are looking to do well in the Championship, for them to rest players in the second game of the season just is laughable, isn't it, in a way? Do you know what I mean? I think they will put a decent team out against us, and I think it's a challenging game. However, I think it's great we're at home, and a London Derby cup game under the lights. Yeah, can't wait.
And if it goes to penalties, of course, this season, they've changed the format, haven't they? We're now going to the ABBA system. However, I would, as much as I'd like to see this, and it would be great if we did take it to penalties, it'd be great to see this new system in play. I don't want to touch too much on it because it just brings out all the old ABBA puns, doesn't it?
Yeah, winner takes it all, eh?
Yeah, winner takes them all and all that. So I don't really want to get into that sort of mood. If it does go to penalties, of course, this new ABBA format, it's going to be tricky because there's no trains to Waterloo after the game, are there? Because Norbiton Station is shut. So it could be some of our fans are going to need to send out maybe an SOS to get home that evening. But anyway, any other games in the Milk Cup first round that keep your interest or have piqued your interest?
I'll be truthful, I've not even looked because I'm too big.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't bother. It's the worst draw I think I've ever seen. It's so boring.
Yeah, nothing major. I'm just looking here. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully Forest Green will do well in their first League Cup game for a little while.
For a little while? Stu, ever?
I was understating.
There's
That was me trying to blag some time to have a look. Yeah, there's nothing, is there? I'm looking.
There's nothing.
Yeah, I'm looking now. Wycombe Wanderers are home to Fulham. Derby going to Grimsby. Yeah, no, there's nothing there. I'm really desperately trying to think of anything here that's decent.
Luton Ipswich for me, obviously, but aside from that, no, it's rubbish. It's a rubbish draw. We should be on TV. We've got the most interesting game, I think.
Yeah, Bury Sunderland on TV. Obviously, they picked it as a TV game. Sunderland in turmoil with their own players, own players criticising their own players. So Bury with all their new signings, that could be an interesting one, couldn't it?
Could be very, very interesting. And that brings to an end an interesting podcast. Of course, updates will be available from both games on Twitter and Instagram at 9wireless podcast. There will be Facebook Live videos, will there not, from both games, we hope. Make sure you like us on Facebook to catch those, facebook.com/9wireless podcast. And hopefully we'll have a more successful opening day than we've had over the past few seasons. You could read more about our record on day one on our website, 9wirelesspodcast.org. Alice Mason has been discussing some of our recent letdowns on there. Also, we are now on Spotify, Stu.
Are we?
Were you aware of this?
No.
Well, you are now. We are on Spotify. Alongside our playlist with all the songs we've ever had on the show from the first 20-ish episodes, because we're still building that catalogue back up. But anyway, we now have a matchday playlist. Every weekend we'll be releasing a playlist to accompany your matchday, which is a great way of describing what a matchday playlist is. It's a playlist that goes with your matchday. And this will be released sometime on Friday, late afternoon, early evening. I would suspect they will feature 3 songs that have been picked by a special guest, which this week will be James Shea, you might be surprised to hear. So you can check that out. Search for 9wireless Podcast on Spotify, or just follow the links that we'll be posting on all our social media, Facebook and Twitter, and potentially Instagram as well. Right, I am breathless after all that, Stu. You're driving up to Scunthorpe this weekend, yeah?
Yeah, can't wait.
I say you're driving. Mrs. Deakins is actually the one driving, isn't she?
Yes, and for those of you who normally are laughing when you pass my yellow car, we have a new car now, so we will be bombing it up the motorway to Scunthorpe, and I can't wait. First game of the season, still feel like a child sometimes, eagerness and anticipation for that first kick of the season.
And that's just from Lorraine telling you to shut up on the journey up there.
That'll be by 8 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I've never been there before, so I'm looking forward to going up on the train, my first visit to Glanford Park. You know, I've been to Southampton, but I've never been to Scunthorpe. So it should be good. And all that's left to say is thank you very much for joining us this week. If you haven't already subscribed to us on iTunes or YouTube, then please do so. Also, keep an eye out for our Sky Super 6 Mini League, which reopens this weekend. If you go to the Super 6 app or the website and use the code, they call it the League PIN, which is great because there are no numbers in it. Use the code BKLJ0W, so there is one number in it, but that does not therefore make a pin. Anyway, that's my pedantic nature over with for now, and that's it for our show this week. Thank you for joining me, Stu.
Thank you.
And join us again next week when we'll be talking with Donald Trump's new Chief of Staff, General John Kelly, who... Sorry, what was that? Okay, join us next week when we'll be joined by Donald Trump's old Chief of Staff, General John Kelly. We'll be discussing whether Football League chairmen are too ready to sack their first team managers. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, and we'll speak to you again next week.